get started. Thank you all for coming. There's a lot more of you than were here for the awards breakfast that I held on Monday morning at the first O&L Coon tournament that I had. Warden told me that no one would show up, and I had like seats and breakfast for 300, and I think like 12 of you were there. So thank you for coming. My idea for kind of hosting this event came out of a lot of the conversations I've had with my friends here on the panel and with many of you. And it occurred to me that we don't often have the luxury of arranging things such that we can make time outside of competition and before there's pairings and such to discuss things that are of interest to all of us. And it occurred to me that since Gary Larson, who's tabbing the tournament, won't actually be here tomorrow, and since we're pre-setting the first 4 debates as a consequence of that, that this would be a perfect time to go ahead and try to use this platform to stir up a good discussion and see what comes of it. My initial idea was that we've had all kinds of debates over the last 10 to 15 years about issues of identity in debate along every axis of and conjunction of identity that you could think of. But we have not all met together in a tournament environment outside of competition to discuss how we could translate what we've learned in those debates to the choices that we're all making, whether that's as coaches or students, as recruiters, as people who are trying to build team culture, as people who are trying to build institutions that will last. And so I tried to think of 7 of my, or 6 of my most provocative friends who have interesting points of view on these subjects, and I've invited them to come speak. The 8th chair is there in case someone would like to join the panel. Feel free to storm the panel. And after each member makes a brief statement, about 4 to 5 minutes, I might needle them with a couple questions, and then Mr. Ewing has agreed to play Oprah and take that remote mic around to folks in the audience who want to have a discussion, who want to get involved. And my idea is we'll speak maybe for half an hour or 40 minutes and try to keep as much time as possible for discussion that is directed from the audience. So with that, Gabe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've prepared a little something here. Debate is, in my opinion, nearing or has already reached a crisis of legitimacy. In a growingly diverse world, our community has failed to keep pace with the diversity of the general population or even the population of our colleges and universities. This fact, in my opinion, demands we reorient our response to diversity in debate. Originally, I was going to speak to each of the times throughout high school, college, and coaching that I've thought I, who loves debate, was going to quit. But instead, I'd like to focus on the responses I received in hopes that we, as a community, can learn from those. In each of my crises with debate, a friend came to me with an interestingly similar message. I'm gonna do some shout outs here. Joe Hadid, Suraj Patel, Josh Gonzalez, Liz Wiley, and Jarrell Braden all flipped the normal arguments that we hear about how much students need debate, and instead reminded me that in some context or another, debate needed me. Now, even if these individuals were generous in their content, certainly debate would not be all that different without this chubby queer Latino boy sitting up here. Their message was powerful. If we abstract this message to our current situation, I believe it's even more powerful. We need women and people of color judging our students, on Elam panels, competing, winning speaker awards, and winning tournaments, whether they be regional or the national debate tournament. In recognition of the importance of diversity to our community, I believe that it is imperative that more of us take on a positive obligation, the same one that Joe, Suraj, Josh, Liz, and Jarrell took with me. We need to stop being defensive about our programs not harming diversity and start embracing positive actions to pursue and support more diverse debaters and coaches. Too often, we let ourselves off the hook by comforting ourselves with the fact that debate doesn't have to be discriminatory, while ignoring the inconvenient truth that even if the discrimination is not de jure, it is certainly de facto. It's not enough to simply defend the neutrality or liberatory potential for debate. We need to start taking positive actions and assure that we are contributing to solutions. Unlike many debate rounds, in this case, I believe a link of omission should be offensive. What does this mean practically? Well, to me, it means a lot of things. In recruiting, it could mean opening up all your resources to make sure a young debater, female or a person of color, continues to debate in college, even if it's not at your institution. As a lab leader, it could mean taking an interest in affirming the importance of diverse students in college debate and following through with all of your students considering that debate, especially if they feel that they cannot find a place within our activity. In coaching, it could mean realizing that your program needs your students and conforming your coaching and teaching to their needs, relaxing ideological and institutional grips in favor of allowing diverse students to come to their terms with debate, increasing the hopes of retention. It could mean lowering the intensity of our top-level competitive desires and spending more time recruiting and retaining diverse novice and JV debaters, or opening all of your coaching resources to all of the students on a team. If you run a tournament, you could make increasing diversity in judging a priority in the administration of that tournament. It could mean that recognizing that improvement takes constant effort, and therefore including diversity in all decision-making we partake in as debaters, coaches, and members of a hopefully caring community. The list could go on, but the summary is the same, and can even be coded in debate-friendly terms. We need to abandon a defensive relationship to diversity and stay on the offensive. It's how we win debates, and in my opinion, it's one of the necessary ways to avoid and remedy our own crisis of legitimacy.
Thanks, Gabe. One of the things I thought I'd do is, if it occurred to me in between the speeches, to try to needle some of our guests and ask a question or two. So I wonder, Gabe, how, let's take the crisis of legitimacy claim for a given for a minute and assume that it is sort of an uncontestable claim. How do you account for the audience that we see here? When I debated at this tournament in this room, pretty much everyone sitting out here kind of looked like me and kind of talked like me, and they didn't have as nice connectors in their beard, but other than that, they were, largely Fitz-like.
That's terrible. I think what you're asking is, aren't we doing better? Yeah, sure. In society.
Well, actually,
sorry.
no. How do you account for what has happened?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's kind of what, maybe I was too personal in how I account for that. I account for that because I think there are people like Joe, Siraj, Josh, Liz, and Jarrell who have made an effort to make sure that the students who are diverse are in this room. I can tell you it's difficult to be any of the plethora of diversities in debate. So it's a godsend that debate manages to keep them. And I guess I would account for that by saying that some people are embracing their positive obligations at a personal level at the very least.
Thanks, Gabe.